Hello, everyone. It's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So, sometimes I wonder whether or not the things that we do in regards to indie media actually has an effect in the larger world. Um, there's a very particular saying that I like on this front that calms your mind, or calms my mind anyway. We don't fight fascists because we think we're going to win. We fight fascists because they're fascists. It just kind of makes this point of who you are, meaning the things that you look around and you consider your particular reality. There's no way to know whether the reality that you live in is the exact same reality as other people, and I suspect it is not. How you arrange the world in your mind, meaning the emphasis that you put on things, the coloring that you put on other things, those things aren't decided just purely based upon the things that you agree with or the things that you like. I like sunny days. I don't particularly like cold weather. I like playing the Ruy Lopez when I'm playing the white pieces. I like playing the King's Indian Defense when I'm playing the black pieces. I can live in a big city and a small town equally well. Down the line. They're also, however, made based upon the things or the way you delineate yourself from those things. Meaning, it's not just what I agree with, it's also the things I disagree with, the things I push away from myself, the things that I dislike. The saying is making this interesting point that sometimes flies in the face of what humans believe that the world should be like based on this kind of movie version of the world. I make decisions and I do things, particularly in regards to how I operate in the world, not because I think I'm going to win against these forces that are in the world, but because those forces exist in the world in and of itself. I delineate myself against those things. Who I am as a person is antagonistic towards those ideas of fascism. However you want to define fascism at this point. I feel the same way with this. This is not a movie. You fight against long odds, and in fighting against those long odds, oftentimes you're going to lose. There is no pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, at least oftentimes there's not. The current case of this is the Russian narrative, this Russian gate thing. Media screaming at the top of their lungs that Russia besmirched us. They violated us. They touched our private spaces. And in doing so, we now must retaliate against Russia for doing so. Independent media has pushed a narrative saying that narrative is bogus, and that ultimately this was a leak, not a hack. For 6 months, we fought against that particular narrative. And finally, it seems that narrative is beginning to break into mainstream news or mainstream media. The Nation ran an article. A new report raises questions, big questions, about last year's DNC hack. Former NSA experts say it wasn't a hack at all, but a leak, an inside job by someone with access to the DNC system. I'm not going to go through the entire article because you've already heard the article. You've heard me bitch and moan about this for the past X number of months, 6 months. You've heard me go through the DNC, the VIP report, which is the report they're listing, and they're listing essentially the information from the report itself, saying somebody was there in order to download the information. Physically, it was impossible for Russia to actually hack us. This came somewhere in Virginia. If this is breaking into mainstream media, in part, this is because of us. We've screamed and we've bitched and we've moaned and we've complained about it. It wasn't just... Look, when you have a situation where Julian Assange says it wasn't a hack, it was a leak, all of this is based on an assessment. Does Chuck Todd know what an assessment is? Does Jake Tapper know what an assessment is? Does the mainstream media, through all these newsmen, all these plastic-faced newsmen who get up there with a... I can't do the plastic face. I can't do the practice face that they have. But do all those guys know, the guys who are supposed to be the smartest guys in the room, who create the narratives to which we live and organize our lives around, do they know that an assessment is an opinion? And if they know that an assessment is an opinion, which is what all of this is based off, which is what the Nation magazine makes the point of, all of this is based off of an assessment. There's been no information, no evidence, no real evidence given to the American population to say Russia did it. Ultimately, you have factions of society who want it to be Russia. Meaning the DNC doesn't necessarily want to have the conversation of why they lost to reality show hosts. The DNC doesn't want to have the conversation of why 15 million people left their party. It is far easier to scream Russia. The mainstream media goes with the idea of Russia hacking because, let's be honest, they don't particularly like Donald Trump. Also, this idea of Russia puts asses in seats. That's a marketable story. The news that you get has nothing necessarily to do with the news that's best for you or what's more advantageous to your life. It has more to do with a product. In the same way that football is a product, in the same way that selling an advertisement is a product, media also takes that narrative of saying what we're giving you is some product because we want to put your asses in seats. There's a reason that Rachel Maddow is doing so fucking awesomely well. There's a reason why they covered Donald Trump to that degree. It put asses in seats. Same thing with the Russian narrative. It puts asses in seats. A country attacked us. A foreign government attacked this country. They touched Lady liberally, inappropriately. They touched her inappropriately. We must respond militarily. We must do something. We must pass sanctions. Russia must be punished for what Russia did. Only to find out Russia didn't do it. Narratives. Narratives. Narratives pushed by people who, for the most part, had something to gain by those narratives. Reality had nothing to do with it. This is breaking into mainstream media. Now, the degree that it breaks into mainstream media, I don't particularly know. But the fact that the Nation is running this particular story in and of itself is an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing. And to some degree, it means that progressive media, indie media, even if you want to say anti-establishment media, if you want to include the right on this, has impact. It has impact. The VIPs, the very important, or the veterans intelligence professionals that they're talking about in this particular story are doing God's work. And not just doing God's work, they made it very clear that from a physics standpoint, it is absolutely impossible for Russia to have hacked us. Beyond it being impossible for Russia to hack us, it would require that somebody forged evidence to make it look like Russia hacked us. Meaning, not only was all this based on an assessment, which is an opinion, which is what the Nation magazine makes, the point that they make, but beyond it based on an opinion, you had NSA and FBI look at this, giving their opinion, knowing full well it was just an opinion. Did the media know it was also just an opinion? And if the media didn't know that, why are they in the media? And you have the second thing of, if it wasn't Russia, which it wasn't, if it was physically impossible for Russia to do it, which it was, why was the information made to look like Russia? And who made that information look like Russia did it? Meaning, who forged the information? If this story breaks, meaning if this story falls apart in mainstream media, the very next question that would need to be asked is, who forged the data to make it look like Russia? And why did the DNC give their servers to CrowdStrike? Those questions follow suit, one after the next. Good job, the Nation. Welcome to the party. I'm sorry it took you so long to get to this particular party, but welcome to the party. Welcome to being part of the malcontents. Yeah, man, this is a good thing. I'm going to put the Nation's story at the bottom of this, but you've already heard this story. That's the catch. You've already heard this. This is something that we've been bitching and complaining about for the past 6 or 7 months. I've always taken the perspective of, it's possible, but I doubt it. You've seen me evolve to saying, yeah, I severely doubt that it was even possible, and no, I don't necessarily believe it. It is nice to see that this bitching and moaning, complaining and screaming and everything else, that it wasn't Russia, that the story is bogus, that the story is nonsense, that the media has been lying. It's nice to see that that's actually getting into the outside world. And for the first time that I've seen, we have a mainstream magazine, mainstream publication, that's running the story that Russia's hacking is bogus. That is bogus. Welcome to the party, Nation magazine. It's It's taken you a long time, but welcome to the party. I'm glad you're here. All right, guys, I'm going to end it at this. Bitch and moan and complain, man. And not just bitch and moan and complain. Look, I have a small following, so I don't necessarily know how much impact me saying this is going to have. But all of the complaining that's going on the left, these petty squabbles, I call them petty disagreements. Put them to the side for a day. And bitch and moan and complain and make videos about this Russian hacking thing being bogus. And tweet those videos to the favorite person that you dislike. Tweet those videos to the people who you may actually like. Tweet those videos to the people who actually have some kind of influence. Tweet these articles to the people who have influence. Facebook these articles to the people who may have influence. Send the articles. Send the YouTube clips. Send these things to Trump, to Sessions, to Joy Reid just to piss her off, to Rachel Maddow to piss her off, to all of these people who may have anything to do with this particular story. Scream it. Scream it. You can get back to your petty squabbles that don't mean anything afterwards. But at least for a day. Scream it. I'll leave it at that. Alright, if you enjoy the content, feel free to share, write, subscribe, and of course, you can always support the world through PayPal or Patreon. Thanks, guys.